CE, so we'll go for about 50 minutes is all we have to do, so that's great. Again, same rules apply, so we've got to make sure that we've got screens on. You can comment in participation with the chat, and just making sure that everyone's participating. It'll be great fun. And then, I don't know, let's see, Yvonne, are you the one that's letting people in this time, or is it just open? It's open. You're muted. You're muted. We can't hear you.
I will monitor it for you, and I will watch. Everybody needs to turn their videos on so we can see your cuteness. If you don't have your cuteness showing, guess what? We can't give you credit for the class. And we need you to sign in with first and last names so we know who you are, so you get credit for the class. And anything else that I'm supposed to tell, Chantel?
No, I think that's it. That's good. In about 5 minutes, I'll put a link in the chat so that we can make sure that you guys can sign the roster. You do have to fill out the roster, so make sure that gets done. But I'll put that link in there, same rules as before. And then I will be giving out the 4 code words during class that you can watch for, that you have to have 3 out of 4 correct in order to get your credit. So I think that's it. All right, I'm going to go in here and share my screen with you, and we will pull up the slides for today. Okay. Okay, we should be good to go. So let's talk a little bit about where you should spend your marketing dollars. I know as agents, you guys get inundated with so many things all the time and people that want you to spend your money with them. And it's really hard to know where to spend it, how much you should be spending, and all of that sort of thing. If you happen to get somebody that wants you to spend money with them and you're not sure if it's a good program or anything, I'm always happy to help you vet that and see, you know, what things to look for, what things to ask for, any of that. So if you ever have those questions, please let me know. I'm more than happy to help you kind of go through some of those things. Okay. So I love this quote: a man who stops advertising to save money is like a man who stops a clock to save time, right? We've all got to be making sure that if we want to grow our businesses, that we are advertising on a regular basis and that we have a strategy in place. So we'll talk a lot about that. We're going to talk about what is considered marketing. We'll do a marketing analysis worksheet. We'll talk about your marketing foundation. We're going to do a SWOT analysis. We'll talk about how much you should allocate versus what if you're new versus existing. We'll talk about scaling and also setting marketing goals. So if you do not already, I would recommend you have a pad of paper and a pen so you can take some good notes. We'll kind of get in and ask some questions for you for your individual businesses that you can come back to later. And as always, I will email out the slides so that you can go back through and do whatever work on your own that you would like to. All right. Whoops. Always, as I skipped ahead by accident, my subconscious obviously didn't want me to say this dumb stuff, but I have to, so it's fine. As a title producer, you cannot pay me to write, share, or comment on your posts on social media. I cannot pay you. It's a whole lot of fun. We love the government, but basically I am happy to help you do so. We just cannot exchange money. Okay, let's talk about what your marketing budget refers to. So this will be all of your costs for marketing, advertising, PR, anything else that you can blanket under this very wide net is considered marketing. So Google AdWords, social media, print ads, sponsorships, even events will be considered marketing money. So just kind of keep that in mind, and we'll dive into what some of this means for us. So the first thing we want to do is go through some of these questions. We've got 9 questions here. This is your marketing awareness worksheet. So this will kind of get an idea of where you're at. So before you start spending money on anything, we've got to be able to A, know where you're at, and B, make sure your foundation is set. So we'll go through these first 2 sheets here that should help give you an idea of where you're at so you can set some goals on where you want to be. So number 1 says, in a competitive world, it's often sink or swim. Am I currently sinking, swimming, or just treading water? How competitive is it in my local market? So we know for a fact right now in Utah that real estate is very competitive and it's a very tough market. There's something like 25,000 real estate agents in Utah. So we know that we've got a lot of competition, right? But where do you sit in relation to your peers, in relation to the market? Are you brand new? What's your current business look like? Just to kind of analyze that. Number 2 says, what am I doing to set myself apart? What are my competitors doing? Am I doing enough to show clients what makes me different than the guy down the street? So when we are marketing, being different is really the space that we want to be in. Most marketers or most people that are advertising are competing to be better in some way than everybody else. Maybe it's a better rate, maybe it's better customer service, whatever it is, the message is always better. When really, if you can be different, you're going to stand out in the market and your marketing is going to be a lot easier for you. You're going to start attracting people into your business because you're unique and different and you stand out. So just starting to pull out some of those things. Why is working with me preferable to working with my competitor? So imagine you're talking to a client and finish the following sentence. My competition claims to blank, but what I offer is better or different. Let's replace that for different because blank, right? This is that point of differentiation between you and your competitor. And are you telling people about it? In your marketing, you've always got to be telling people why you are different than everyone else. And number 4 says, what do I offer clients that they can't get someplace else? So maybe it's a technology, maybe it's a customer service point, maybe it's something particular about your product or your knowledge. And are you communicating that clearly in your marketing? Okay. Number 5, how is my rapport with my current clients? Am I pleasant to work with? Do my clients have any common compliments or common complaints? And when I get those, do I adjust and ask for feedback and adjust my course of business, right? Sometimes our clients can say things better about us than we can say ourselves. So it's a really great way for you to start to gain words and tools that you can use in your marketing by listening to what your clients are saying, okay? Number 6, do I proactively make attempts to find out what my clients' individual needs are, or do I assume that everyone has the same needs? So in real estate, we can tend to get very transactional with our clients, right? And we tend to lump people all in the same bucket. But when we understand that there's individual needs and we can really tailor our business to meet those individual people where they're at, then we can really flourish in that space. Number 7, how effective are my client communications? Do I keep my clients well informed throughout the process? So this is a really important one here too, not only for us, but also for those that we bring into our team, right? So our mortgage partners, our title partners, our inspectors, all of those things, we need to make sure that all of our people communicate the way we want our clients to be communicated to. So just analyzing that and seeing where you're at as far as that goes. Number 8, what do I perceive as my strengths do I perceive in myself and my company? What are my weaknesses? What areas need immediate improvement? We're going to go through an entire SWOT analysis in a couple of slides, so you can kind of come back to this or hold off on this one for a second. And then the last one is, how can I implement this information to capitalize on my strengths and offset my weaknesses? What can I start doing differently, if anything, to start setting myself apart and further enhancing the services I provide? So maybe just taking some notes on what you feel stood out to you in this section. Where are you feeling maybe like you're struggling, where you want to build up, and just kind of analyzing where you're at this point, okay? The next thing we want to do is to examine our foundation. So before we start spending any money on marketing, we have to make sure that we have a good, solid foundation so that when we're spending that money, we're not wasting it, right? How many of us have gone out and spent money on advertising and it's done nothing and we couldn't capitalize on that money we spent because we weren't ready to spend it? I mean, I'm sure everyone can raise their hand there. So making sure we're checking our brand, our website, our communication pieces, reporting systems, all of these things are part of our foundation that need to be set before you start spending money. So do you have a clear, up-to-date brand that properly identifies your company and consistently generates the same brand image for consumers? This is a big one because I think especially when we're starting out, we're trying to test the waters and we're kind of throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. But if we can have a solid foundation set and we know what messages we want to put out there, we know what our brand is, we know who we're trying to reach, we're going to save ourselves a lot of time and heartache because we're going to have that in line before we go out and just start spending money and doing advertising. Does your brand have a consistent look and feel across all media, right? So making sure that we have our logos right, our colors, our photos, and that we have a good consistent look and feel. So when people interact with us in different places, they recognize us and it creates that brand awareness. So how does your website compare to competition, right? So a little tip here, maybe Google Real Estate in your region and maybe look at people's websites and see if yours is up to par. Are there any barriers in your prospect's path towards becoming customers? So this is a big one, especially with your website. For those of you that have your own website, making sure that when people go to your website that there is a clear path or a clear funnel to work them through, and making sure you're not losing potential clients, right? I've helped so many people do like digital ad campaigns where they're directing them to their website and their website is not up to par, and it basically people will get there and then just leave and bounce, and they've basically just wasted all of that money on the marketing because they weren't set up in the first place to capture those leads, to make sure their funnels are in place and that they're giving the correct information out there. The next one, do you have tools and systems in place to measure the success of your marketing campaigns? That's a big one. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they start spending money, but they don't have a clear objective of what they're expecting from that campaign. And so that creates a lot of frustration between the person running your campaign and for yourself as well, because you didn't clearly communicate what you expected to happen from that campaign, right? And to be able to ask the right questions from the people doing the advertising so that you can make sure you're getting the best bang for your dollar. And then do you have a solid and solidified strategy for business development and marketing related to your campaign, right? So these are kind of foundational things here that we want to make sure that we've got in place before we start spending money. So your first keyword, so everyone get in here, keyword number 1 is foundation. Foundation is keyword number 1. Okay. All right. Let's scooch in here. So we're going to start a SWOT analysis. Have any of you guys done a SWOT analysis on your business in the past? Feel free to pitch in here. I'm seeing a few shaking heads. Okay, cool. Have you guys, has anybody heard of a SWOT analysis? Or am I talking Chinese? I'm talking Chinese. I see Deanne nodding her head. Yes, Chinese. Okay, so SWOT analysis is a really great tool for you to analyze your business and see where you're at. So we're going to go through this and break this down. Again, I will send out these slides, but I do want you to take some notes and get a feel for where you're at in your business right now, okay? So let's dive into this here. So how I look at this too is the top 2, so your strengths and weaknesses. These are points that are typically internal, like they're personal for you, within you and your business. The opportunities and threats I look at as more being external. So things that maybe have influence on your business, but are not necessarily under your control as much, right? Or that we don't have dictation over. So let's start under strengths. So there, let's list what advantages do you have that others don't have. For example, what skills, certifications, education, even connections is a great one here. So just kind of thinking about you personally and where you fit in there. The second one here, what do you do better than anyone else, right? So when we're looking for points of differentiation, this is a great way for you to start to pull in in what ways do you do things better than anyone else you know, right? Maybe you're super organized, maybe you're super creative, maybe you have really great people skills, empathetic, you know, any of these things that just make you as a person stand out. And always remembering that when you're an agent, you and your business are very commingled, right? You are your business. You are the face of your business. So these can be very personal strengths for you that you may not even think apply to real estate, which they probably do. Okay. What personal resources can you access? Okay. So maybe you have a husband that is a web developer, or maybe you have a sister that's an attorney, that happens to know real estate, anything like that. Like, what resources do you have access to? This is a great one here. What do other people see as your strengths? Sometimes we're a little bit hard on ourselves, or we don't necessarily like to think of the things that we can do well because we think it's bragging. So sometimes we can ask those that know us the best what our strengths are as well, and get some outside feedback on that and help get our brain churning about what we do really well. Which of your achievements are you most proud of, right? So thinking back, it can be as far back as you want, but think of things that you have done over the course of your life that you are most proud of. And I would even add in there, why are you proud of that? Right? Like, what is it that stirs that emotion for you, and why are you proud to claim that? What values do you believe in that others fail to exhibit? This is a big one, especially in real estate. We come up to bat against people that claim they have certain values, and often there's a very lack of value system within real estate, which is super unfortunate. But what things do you believe in that are very important to you? And the last one here, are you a part of a network that no one else is involved in? And if so, what connections do you have with influential people? So maybe take a minute here. I'm going to give you a minute just to take some notes under these strengths sections, kind of finish out anything. If you have any questions in these also, this would be a great time to ask or throw in the chat. We can give you just a minute before we move over to weaknesses. Okay, all right. Let's move over here to weaknesses then. So thinking here, and this is a hard one too, because under our weaknesses, I think because we tend to get a lot of personal blindness, I think. So it's really important that you really dive in here, be honest with yourself, because not being forthright here, nobody else is going to see this page, but really making sure you're giving the best answers you can so that you can work through and maybe bring in support systems or whatever you need to help overcome these weaknesses, right? So the first one, what tasks do you usually avoid because you don't feel confident doing them, right? So really think in there, what are some things, maybe it's in your follow-up process, maybe that you, or maybe it's in your prospecting business, right? Maybe you hate making cold calls or phone calls to people or door knocking because you have that, you're just not feeling enough confidence to step into that realm, right? So just be really honest with yourself and really think, what do I avoid doing because I don't feel confident doing it? And maybe you might be even a little more aware and catch yourself in a couple of things this week where it's maybe an aha moment for you that you can bring to light and move past some of those things. What will the people around you see as your weaknesses? So again, getting some outside feedback is a great thing to do in this area, right? Because sometimes we tend to try to cover over. We have this this stigma that we have to be perfect all the time, and so we try to hide our weaknesses and stick them under the rug, right? But we need to be able to be aware of what they are so we can strengthen those places. Are you completely confident in your education and skills training? If not, where are you weakest, right? This is a really important one. If you're feeling like you maybe don't know enough about the foreclosure market or something that you feel like you need to brush up on, being aware of what you're weak in so that you can find classes and things like that that will help to strengthen that up and build your knowledge base is huge. What are your negative work habits? Again, digging deep in here, being honest with yourself. Are you often late? Are you disorganized? Do you have a short temper? Maybe you're poor at handling stress, like whatever that is, just be really honest with yourself. I know we always joke about realtor standard time and people running late. So I know that's a big one for realtors. But, just being able to analyze that. And then the last one here, do you have personality traits that hold you back in your field? For instance, do you have to conduct meetings on a regular basis? A fear of public speaking would be a major weakness, right? So maybe just digging deep with your personality and where you're at there. I'm going to give you, again, a couple minutes here or just a few seconds to finish up, and you can put down any weaknesses you have. And again, feel free to ask questions, whatever you need. Okay, so let's move down to the opportunities and threats. So opportunities first. So again, remembering these are the things that are maybe outside of you as a person, not so much internal, they're more your external things. So looking under opportunities, what new technology can help you? Or how can you get help from other people via the internet, right? So what are some things you can do that'll help you in the technology arena? It's one of those things that I think seems to be ever changing and ever moving, and just being able to rely on others to help you build that up for yourself is great. Is your industry growing? If so, how can you take advantage of the current market? Right now in Utah, I mean, surprisingly enough, our industry is still growing. We're still selling a ton of houses. The market's moving, the market's hot. That might be different in other parts of the country, but right now, like, how can we take advantage of this, and how can we prepare for maybe upcoming shifts that we can strategize now and be ready and ahead of the curve when the market shifts, right? Do you have a network of strategic contacts to help you or offer good advice? You guys are all super fortunate to be a part of an amazing brokerage with Presidio that has so many tools and so many resources for you. So take advantage of that, right? Being able to network in and rely on your brokerage to help you through whatever you need. Love that. Are any of your competitors failing to do something important? If so, can you take advantage of their mistakes? So seeing what's going on in the market right now and maybe where you can step in and fill a void for people is an amazing place to be, an amazing place to pivot yourself in the marketplace. Is there a need in your company or industry that no one is filling? So being able to see that maybe there's a lack somewhere that you could step in. And do your customers or vendors complain about something in your company? If so, or you should say industry, could you create an opportunity by offering a solution? So just kind of thinking outside the box, right? Like, what's everyone else doing and how can I do something a little bit different so that I can niche myself and create an opportunity within a competitive marketplace, okay? Does anyone have questions in the opportunity section? Cool, okay. All right, now let's move to threats. So what obstacles do you currently face at work, right? Are there things that stress you out? Obviously, yes. Are any of your colleagues competing with you for projects or roles? That's always the case in real estate, right? We're almost never the only agent on a listing appointment or listing meetings with people, right? Is your job or the demand for things you do changing? Always. I swear real estate is never the same 2 days in a row. So that's always fun. Does changing technology threaten your position? This is an interesting one. And I think we get nervous about technology all the time, and everyone's always trying to come up with a new app or a new, whatever that's going to change the whole real estate world. And really, I don't believe, this is my personal belief, but I don't believe we can really ever take the human side out of real estate, just because it's such a personal experience for people and so emotional that I really don't believe that technology is something that's going to threaten our position. But especially with these times right now, and who knows when we're going to go under another lockdown or whatever, how can you learn or how can you utilize technology to keep your business going and help you in those times where maybe things are a little bit different or challenging, right? And then this last one, could any of your weaknesses lead to threats, right? Where we maybe, if we ignore our personal issues so much that it becomes a threat to our business and it's really a challenge. We've got to be able to be aware. There's a quote I heard somewhere that was, I can't remember who said it, but it's keep your shadows in front of you because they can only take you down from behind. So when we ignore all of the problems that we have, maybe personal issues, weaknesses, whatever that may be, when they're behind us, that's when they can take us out, right? But if we can keep them in front of us and we're aware of what's going on and we're keeping them in check, then we're in control of our business, right? And maybe that just means we bring someone in to help us out in the areas that we're weak. Maybe we need a virtual assistant, or maybe transaction coordinator, or whatever that is, where we have people to back us up and help us in our spots that we're weak so we can really shine in our strengths. So I love that. So this is your SWOT matrix. Basically, this is just an analysis worksheet for you to figure out just a good awareness project to see where you're at. Because I always believe that is a good idea before you start marketing and putting money out there. Because if you start growing and spending money and you're not prepared for it and you haven't figured those out, it's really going to be a detriment to you in your business. So you want to make sure that you're set, you're ready to go, and that you can handle the growth that's going to come when you start marketing. Does anybody have questions there before we kick over? We good? Okay, I'm not seeing any chats pop up yet, so that's good. Okay. All right, let's talk about budget, everyone's favorite topic. I love it. Oh, before I move on to this, I'm sorry, your keyword number 2 is SWOT, S-W-O-T, SWOT. Okay, all right, and then because I forgot to give you that one on time, here's your keyword number 3, budget. So there, you've got 2 keywords back to back, right in the jam of the middle of the class. So there you go. All right, so we got number 2, SWOT, number 3, budget. Cool. Okay, so let's talk about this here. So this is just a really broad overview of what I recommend for how much money to spend in what areas. So the thing with marketing is, again, this is a general rule of thumb. There's no guarantees in advertising, and sometimes it does take a little bit of trial and error to figure out what works for you and for your clients. But when we're looking at spending money, there's a couple of different categories, if you will, in which we need to look. So a couple are going to be like initial or periodic spends, where they're not going to be ongoing regular maintenance. So your branding, like setting up your brand, creating your logos, that kind of thing is going to be an initial spend, where you're really not going to have to do much of that unless you decide to rebrand or completely shift your company within there. So that's going to be something initial that you'll spend. Same with a website, right? A website is something that you'll probably spend a good chunk of money on to build at first. And then you might have periodic maintenance for it. But again, unless you're looking for a complete overhaul, that's going to last you quite a while and would just be maybe periodic spend at that point. Once you're past those, then this is how I'm just recommending maybe this general rule of thumb on how to break down percentage-wise your other marketing dollars that you're spending. So tools or apps, I recommend you're spending about 10% of your budget in this area. So just remember, this is another one where you can really blow a budget based on tools and apps, because there's a lot of things that sound really cool, lots of bells and whistles that would be awesome, but they might not necessarily be right for your company. So just be really careful about where you're at here. Invest in tools that are going to help you grow or really help you to be efficient in your time so that you can spend your time elsewhere, okay? Digital advertising and social media. I recommend about 35% of your budget goes to here. So this is going to be, obviously, social media is self-explanatory, but also other digital advertising platforms. So you're going to be looking at like targeted campaigns, emails, display ads, content, like all of that kind of stuff really kind of loops into this, this category here. And then I'm going to say 30% in traditional advertising. So this is going to be like your print, radio, direct mail, etc. So anything that falls into that category here, look at about 30% of your budget to go there. 15% I would say to allocate for content. Now this is kind of an interesting one. Some of us are gifted writers and some of us are not. So if you are not good at producing your own content, you can absolutely hire it out. So I would just plan on spending about 15% in your content. If you are great at content, then, and you can do that yourself and you have the time to do it, then you can allocate those dollars somewhere else. But having good content is going to be the biggest thing for your marketing and your branding. Okay, then the last one is events. So event marketing can be a very, very powerful tool, but you want to make sure you're using it the right way. I think I've seen a lot of realtors that say, oh my gosh, my in-person events are so successful, I need to do more of them. More is not better in this case, right? If people have too many opportunities to where you're doing things, then they're going to get bored and they're not going to want to come. So I recommend having 1 to 2 really great client events each year that you can involve people in, but make them awesome, like really great ones that people want to attend so they look forward to it and they'll go out of their way to make sure they can be there. So that would be my recommendation there. Does anybody have any questions about these different categories or spend or any of that? Okay, I'm not seeing anything come through. All right.
I don't know if you're seeing the chat comment.
Oh, I'm not actually. It's nothing is pulled up. Is there chats in there? Hold on.
Yeah, just a few.
Shoot dang. It just usually it alerts me. Will you throw one in there? Because I'm not, let me hang on actually. Let me stop share and then it popped back up when I did that. So I'm gonna go back to screen share again and let's see if it's in my. There we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, so let me go back and respond to, there's a ton. I am so sorry, you guys. So yes, Donnelly, I will get you a copy of the docs. Presidio said training, it's recorded, great. Oh, and link to the roster. Thank you, Steve. I will do that now, guys. I swear. I don't even know what day it is anymore. Let me get in here. Gotta love it. Some days I'm on point and some days I just am not. Let's see. Okay, so I've got the URL copied. I come back in here. Here it comes right now for everybody. Okay. Let's get back in, share screen, and hopefully I've got my chat still up. Hang on. That chat sometimes is such a booger. We'll get back in here. Oh, and of course, the second I stop share, it comes back. Good grief. Okay, let's see. Okay, so let's scroll back here. Okay, so Seth asked, is the purpose of recognizing weaknesses to fix them or simply to know them? So that is a good question. So I think we've got to be aware of them, and some things we can fix and some things we just need to allocate to somebody else, right? To delegate out. So, but if you're not aware of them, you can't bring people in to help you. I'm a really big believer that you really need to focus on what your strengths are and let other people come in and help you with those weaknesses. But also there are some things that we can fix, right? That we've just chosen not to because they're unpleasant and it's just a personal choice. So just make that decision if it's something that's like you just don't want to do it, but you can, or if it's something you'd be better off delegating out. So hopefully that helps answer that question. And I'm really sorry about the chat, guys. I wondered why it wasn't popping up. Okay, any other questions?
I have a question about hiring someone to do your content. Do
Okay.
you have people that are like a group or someone you would recommend?
Yeah, a lot of the companies that will manage your social media are really good at content. And there's also companies out there that strictly just do content. So it just kind of depends on what you're looking for. And we can talk about that too and just see like what works best for you. But um, yeah, content is one of those things that like I personally would love to find someone that's strictly like smaller that can work with you one-on-one, that learns kind of what your voice is and that can just help you make all of that beautiful content. So yes, and Cynthia, I'll make sure, as long as you guys have your emails on the roster, I'll make sure you get copies of the slides. So just make sure you get that filled out. So yeah, so you can go either way. There's social media companies will help you do it, and so there are specific content companies as well. So we can help you there. Okay, so let's move in here. So once you get rolling in marketing, actually, I think I might have skipped ahead one too many. Nope, we did. We're good. Okay. And then, so the keywords, Cynthia, so far we've had foundation, SWOT, and budget. So those have been the three that we've had so far, just to get caught up there. Okay. Okay, so once you're kind of growing, and as realtors, I know we kind of come into this and we're wearing all the hats, right? We have to do all the marketing, like everything, the janitorial work, right? All of the grunt things. So we kind of start out bootstrapping our company. So you're going to reach a point where if you stay in that bootstrapping mode for too long, you're going to stunt your growth, right? So you've got to get to that point where you maybe have to take a slight financial step back to start delegating and hiring out some of these processes, but that's going to allow you to launch forward. And so you've really got to be mindful of, are you okay where you're at? Are you wanting to stay where you're at, or do you want to grow? And maybe that's that time where you need to analyze, is it time for me to step up and start hiring some things out so that I can scale my business? You can't grow and scale just on word of mouth alone. You've got to be able to build up your business and to really grow your company the way you want it to grow. So let's look at a few things here. So as a new startup, you're going to need an initial, like a higher ramp up budget. So I've created this little graphic here that kind of shows you what's recommended here, but new companies, you'll see you need to allocate 15 to 20% on your marketing of gross revenue towards building your business and towards that marketing. Established companies can get away with less of a percentage, right? So once you kind of have that foundation, you can start to scale back the percentage that you're spending. But you also want to make sure you're building it on the desired business that you want to have and not your current level, right? Which is why you've got to allocate a higher percentage. So what I like to recommend is, it's when you're starting out, just set some money aside and use that for advertising. A lot of us aren't blessed enough to come into real estate having a nest egg that we can use to help get going with marketing right away. So just make sure that you are allocating money as you start growing that you can spend in building your business, okay? So, and that's what creates this, I call it chicken or the egg marketing, right? As we're starting out, we've got to sell a house to get money to market, but we need to market to get a house to sell. So just making sure that when you're out there, do as much grassroots marketing as you can, get the word out there, and the second you get any transactions, make sure you're allocating a hefty portion of that money, set it aside to continue your marketing. So when you have a consistent marketing campaign and things going, it's going to help you ride the ups and downs that come with real estate or any business, right? Especially when we're wearing all the hats. I feel like our businesses tend to be very cyclical because we'll have that prospecting period where we're ramping up, making contacts, building, and then, oh, we get some and they kind of start to close, but we've been closing them and not ramping at the same time. And so then we have to kind of start back again, ramp, close. So this marketing is going to help you kind of ride those waves and bridge the gap so that you don't have the highs and lows. And it helps you to continue with that prospecting while you're working in other areas of your business. So a couple of things to keep in mind. It's almost always going to cost you more and take longer than you expected. It's just like building a house, right? Budget and make sure you use your dollars wisely, and then do it right the first time. So again, like I said, I'm always happy to analyze anything that you guys have that comes across your desk. If you want to know if it's good or if it's worthwhile based on what they're telling you, I'm happy to do that. But also making sure your foundation is correct so that when you do start spending those money, that money, you're doing it right the first time and you're not just wasting your dollars. Okay. Does anybody have questions there? Okay, cool. All right, so essentially what you want to do is to scale your budget with your business. So as you grow, you want to scale your spend with your growth so you can continue to grow your business, okay? So let's talk a little bit about that. There's a couple of ways as you're starting out that you can really stretch those dollars when things are tight at the first and you need to get as much in as you can. Here's a couple tips you can use. So use and find free versions of tools and apps and test them out, or use the free version as long as you can, right? Hiring students or interns that are looking for experience in different fields is a great way that you can gain some traction, but you're gonna spend less than you would for regular full agencies to do the work. Networking events is huge, but show up and really learn how to network and how to create those foundations. And I love creating pods of people that can really help each other in business, right? So start creating those relationships with people and really get yourself out there. Cross-marketing and promotion with businesses that share your same type of demographics creates win-wins for both companies, which is awesome. And you can often share expenses when you do that, right? So finding those things that you can do. Reuse content for as many platforms as you can. I think, Jeff, this might have been actually you and I chatting about this when we met a couple days ago. But one thing you can do, I'm a big fan of using things as many times as you can until you can't use it anymore. So I will recommend for people, like, create a YouTube video where you can just talk naturally into the camera about whatever subject you have. Take that video, you can get the transcriptions from it and then just tweak it and make sure you kind of edit it to be more blog post worthy. So then you've got a nice blog post to use. And then you can take and pull snippets of that blog post out to use in your social media platforms or your marketing campaigns or whatever. So it's a really handy just to be able to do something once and then break it down for all the platforms. And that way you are able to reuse your content for quite a while, which I love. And then again, what resources do you already have access to? What are some things that your broker has that you have access with? What are some, anything like that that you can use and tap into the resources that you've got, okay? That'll really help you stretch out those dollars and get the most bang for your buck. Okay, so let's talk about setting marketing goals. So this is our last section today. This is your last keyword, goals, G-O-A-L-S. So mark that one down. Okay. So this is probably one of the biggest things when you are marketing is with setting your budget, is determining what you want to have happen with your marketing. And that's the step that we most often skip or forget. But if we don't have those steps in place to measure the success of our campaign, we're not going to know if it performed or didn't, because we don't know what we're checking it against, right? So when I'm marketing, there's a lot of different things I can do. There's branding campaigns, which are going to be harder to measure an ROI, right? Or maybe you want just like, maybe you're saying, okay, I'm going to do this campaign and I'm hoping to get 2 listing appointments from spending this $50 or whatever it is. You'll be able to measure that versus something that's just branding, getting your name out there. You don't know if it's effective or not, right? So making sure that you've got these broken down. I love to break my goals down into 12-week plans. That way I can put things into chunks and I can monitor the progress, and it's got a pretty close end date so I can see how things are performing. So we're going to go through, we'll talk about SMART goals and read and how to define all of that and making sure we're setting those in with our marketing campaigns. Have you guys heard of SMART goals before? Anybody? Yes, no? Okay. Once we open it up, you probably will be like, oh yeah, duh, I've heard of that, right? But it's just taking a little bit of a different light on this and applying it to marketing so we can measure our ROI. So when we're setting goals, we want to make sure that we know our marketing is meant to increase our sales. It's meant to increase our brand awareness. We can grow some market share. We can launch new products or services, target new customers, enter new markets, right? There's so many aspects or avenues to marketing that you've got to know what the end result is that you need from your campaign, and you want to know what you're trying to do with it, right? So being able to analyze this is overall going to help you ride those waves and increase your profit. So when we're setting goals, these SMART goals, this is the acronym here. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound, okay? So this is especially important in marketing. So what we want to be specific, right? So what do I want to accomplish? Why do I want to accomplish that? What are the requirements? What are the restraints, okay? Is it measurable? How do I measure my progress? How do I know when my goal is accomplished, right? So being very black and white with that, and we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Is it achievable? Whoops, I'm sorry, skipped ahead there. Is it achievable? Actually, let's go back to measurable for a minute. I really like to set what I call black and white goals. So this is how I best measure my things. If there is something, and this is what I believe the meaning of measurable is to me. If I say I want 2 listing appointments from this ad campaign, I either get those 2 listing appointments or I don't, right? So for me, that's very measurable. I either did it or I didn't do it. So there's no gray area. Branding campaigns tend to be gray, right? Like I want to increase my brand awareness. I want to get in front of new people. Those are all things that are harder to measure. Does that make sense? I hope. Okay. Is it achievable? How can the goal be accomplished? What are the logical steps that I should take? And oh, Steve said, sorry, I missed that keyword. It was goals, G-O-A-L-S. Okay. Is it achievable? So what are the logical steps I should take? That's a big one. I think we tend to get destination fog and we think, okay, I want to sell 15 houses this year and this is what I'm going to do. But we forget that, okay, in order to sell 15 houses, I first need to make 5 phone calls. I first need to do this, right? And so we need to create that roadmap with all of our points along the way so that we make sure that we are going to be able to achieve our goals. So a little bit of reverse engineering there. Who is going to help me attain the goals? Who's my accountability partner, right? So who's my team in place to help me and who is my accountability partner? Then is it relevant? So is this a worthwhile goal? Is this the right time? Sometimes we, just timing is a big thing and making sure that we're being relevant to what's going on. Do I have the necessary resources to accomplish this goal? And is this a goal in line with my long-term objective? Okay. And then making sure that this is time-bound. This is another one that goes into place with being measurable. Setting a date to it, right? So I might tell my advertiser, well, I want to get 2 listing appointments, but yet I don't give him a time. And does that mean in 1 month? Or do you want 6 months down the road, you want to have 2 listing appointments, right? So making sure that there's a date set with that goal and when you're going to be working on it so that you can map that out and make sure that you're following in that process. Okay, does anybody have any questions about SMART goals? No, nothing, cool. Okay, so the other thing I want to send out that I'm going to send in conjunction with this, so this is not a slide we're going to be going over, but I have created a little 10-question thing that's going to ask you about who you're trying to target. And because you've got to know who you're trying to reach before you set out a campaign or set a campaign as well. So I'm going to send that in addition to these slides just so that you have that. And it's just a little quick 10 questions that I recommend you answer before you start any campaign. It'll help you get your campaign going in the right direction. So I'll make sure I get that for you guys as well. Okay, so these are a few of the different types of media that are out there, okay? So you've got traditional media that you'll see on the left. So that's gonna be your print. So like ads in magazines, direct mail. You've got broadcast media, which is gonna be radio and television, and your event marketing. So those are your traditional media sections. Word of mouth and referral obviously is one we all love and we want to build up. On the right side, you're going to see your digital media. So you've got social media, which is going to include, but not limited to, because there's new social media all the time, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter. I mean, now we've got TikTok, Snapchat, right? Like all the things, it's ever-growing world. Display advertising is going to be things like your geofencing, targeted display, contextual marketing, behavior targeting, and then you can do email marketing with targeted emails where you can buy lists, but also your personal database. So that is one of the biggest free tools you guys have, is really maximizing that personal database. I've got a lot of thoughts on that. I think realtors are doing it wrong, and I think we've talked about this in one of the other classes, but don't just send out market updates, right? Find something that's relevant to your audience, create drip campaigns, work in your communities, and really, really target in on your emails is a great place to do some marketing. So I love that one there. So any questions on those at all? Okay, cool. So that was it, guys. We made it through. We only went 2 minutes over, so we're good. We've got any questions or anything I can help you guys with before we kick off? Quiet group today. Yeah, this one's a little bit different, but I will get you those slides out. And I also will make sure that I get you guys that questionnaire as far as your targeting clients too. So yeah, anything else I can do for you before we kick off?
So do we need to send you a private email with the answers, or just that roster?
No,
with the
just fill out. So it's a Google form. So just fill it out there and click submit, and it'll send it over to me. So as long as your emails are on there, I can get you guys the slides, and I'll probably be sending them out tomorrow morning.
Thank you. Thanks for your class.
Yeah, you're sure welcome.
Turn it off yet.
No, I wasn't.
So Amy Pace asked, can we get the recording and also the slides? So Amy, absolutely. I know the recording goes up on Presidio's, is it YouTube page, Yvonne? Can you clarify that?
Yes, Presidio's YouTube page, and it will be up there probably by the end of the day.
Cool. Okay.
So,
and then also for my email address, I think that it is on, is it not on the bottom of the slide that's showing here? My thing is like cut off on the thing. I will type my email address in the link for everyone. Oh, it is there. Chantel at, I'm like, I thought it was on the bottom of the slide. Chantel at itstitle.com is my email address. And we'll reach out to you, and probably Dalton and my office will reach out to you too to make sure that we can help you guys with whatever you need. Let's see, Seth Keller says, is there anything you can tell us about discovering your market? Maybe Seth, can you clarify what you're meaning there? Expand that a little bit. Is Seth still on?
he's
maybe not.
on, but he's not listening to you.
Okay. Well, okay. There's I don't know if this is going to answer this question or not, but there's a lot of things I can do, and if you guys need help, I know there's several of you I've been coaching and working with on figuring out your target demographics and things like that. That is absolutely something I can do one-on-one. So actually, what I can also, I'm going to get in and put that booking link with me one more time, so that you guys, if you want to book that time, I can help you dive in and make sure that we're getting your market set up correctly. So here's that Calendly link. Oh, that was to Amy privately. Hold on, let me send it one more time to everyone. Let's see. Minute says, how do we access the Google Doc to enter our keywords? So that link that I pasted with the Google Doc, and Amy just pasted again actually, just copy and paste that into a browser link, and then it's just a Google form. So you can just answer the questions right there and click submit, and it'll come right to me. So that's what I've got. Okay, perfect. Anything else? You guys are awesome. Thank you, thank you. Okay, you guys are fantastic. Presidio will have this recording up, and then I'll get you guys out the slides tomorrow. Cool.
Thank you, everybody. I think she's wonderful. I've already asked her if she would do her series again at the first of the year. So I think you cannot listen to her more than just, once isn't enough. We want her back, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you again. See you Monday.
Okay. Thank you, guys. See you later.